I am Carla. Welcome to Tech It Out, our evening edition. Heartfelt welcome to everyone for joining us, and a big shout out for taking time out of your day or evening, wherever your time zone is, to join us as we share a little bit about Bitwise. Again, I am Carla, your host, and hopefully, you all have access to the chat. Let us know where you're coming from, what city. I am currently in Modesto, and we have a lot of great people with us today. A little bit about Bitwise. We are all about believing in the underestimated human. The best thing about us is through our heartfelt technical education, our workforce training program, you don't need any experience to come and join us and have some fun and educate yourself on technical skills. There's no prerequisites. All we really want is your heart and your dedication 6 weeks at a time. And one of our big things is once you are part of our Bitwise family, you're always part of us. And that means you're going to get support from staff, from your peers, from people that are here to support you no matter what. A little bit more about our technical education program. Our pre-apprentice program has 4 classes. They are 6 weeks, twice per week, and 3 hours per session. So you get about 36 hours in your 6 weeks. And again, we are all about people and staff and peers who really care about you. We're all about supporting our underdogs and upskilling our populations that have been previously left out of economic and upward mobility. And that's a little bit about who we are. And of course, the heart of Bitwise is our workforce training program. Today, we have with us 3 amazing people who are from all spectrums, as far as a new student who just finished 6 weeks, his first 6-week class, to someone who is now in the paid apprentice program, and then someone who's gone through all the stages and is now one of our Bitwise developers. So thank you all again for coming. And we're going to start with some of these great stories to share with all of you more about Bitwise, what we're about, and who is with us today. So with that, we're going to start with our friend from Berkeley, Masao Yabusaki, who's going to be joining us here. Are you there? There he is. Hi,
Hey, how you doing?
Masao.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Giving up your evening. I know you gave up your afternoon and now your evening to share your story about who you are, how you found out about Bitwise, and what your experience has been like for these last 6 weeks. So, I had an opportunity to talk to you just a couple of days ago and learned a little bit about you. But why don't you talk to us about who you are and what you were doing before Bitwise?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So just to kind of start down my life journey, I was the actually amateur professional skateboarding, and that was for Red Bull right after high school. And basically after that, that wasn't bringing any income at all. So my father was like, "Hey, you need to get a job." So I got into the workforce, when I was about 16, 17. I worked for a company called Berkeley Bowl Produce, based in the East Bay over here in Berkeley. And after a few years there, I ended up working at AT&T in Oakland as a retail sales representative. Had a taste of the corporate world, and then I kind of went back to the whole grocery chain for a few more years until I basically decided to start my own venture in business. And I ended up, it took about 4.5 years after that, but basically took about 4.5 years to start a new ordinance in the city of Berkeley for retail sales, for miniature, the seedlings and clones for recreational and medical cannabis after Proposition 64 had passed. And so that was really cool. That gave me a lot of political experience in the city. So I'm definitely excited. I was definitely excited to go down that venture. It was new for me, and just starting a whole business itself was a challenge. So after that, COVID had struck, so we had to shut down our business. It was getting really difficult for us, and so now I'm in this whole phase where I'm transitioning into another industry, and I thought, I had a lot of friends in the tech industry. Actually, some of them currently work for Bitwise, and some of them are actually in apprenticeship. So that really turned me on, and I was like, hey, like let me try it out. If they can do it, I can definitely do it. So I try to be a go getter, and I try to put myself out there to learn as much as I can and gain other skills. So that's why I'm taking the first. I just finished actually the first websites for beginner class. That was really fun, and the community was really helpful. So and so were the teachers, really really welcoming and helpful.
That's awesome. I know you do day trading and just kind of your hands are in lots of different things. And I know like a little bit about how you, like you said, you had some people that worked for Bitwise. Were there any obstacles or roadblocks for you to sort of be like, oh, like is tech for me, or am I the right fit?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I mean, when I took the websites for a beginner course that I just finished, I had some difficulties with some moving images and putting text over them. I think that was one of my biggest challenges. That took the most time. It took literally like, some sleepless nights. And I work full time, sometimes most of the time overtime. So I don't really have a lot of time to make those edits, but I ended up getting it done. I used the community as they were, available to me through the app Slack that we use. And the teachers were really helpful. And I really reached out. I took time to ask the right questions, and I got the right answers. So that was really helpful.
That's awesome. I know that one of the things that you had just mentioned right now is like, am I a tech guy? Is like, is this really like the place for me? And like one of our things at Bitwise is like, no one belongs here more than you. Like you belong here, with us. How has that been for you? As far as like in 6 weeks, like have you felt like the environment's been supportive, or like you're like, yeah, I do belong in tech. Who knew?
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. When I first started this venture, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little hesitant. I was kind of nervous, and I was like, hey, like, all these random words and stuff everywhere, right? I mean, like, I didn't know what I was doing, and a lot of people don't as they enter this class their first time. But in 6 weeks, this class had taught me a lot about myself, not only about myself, but the whole world of the beginning of HTML and CSS. So that was really exciting for me to learn. Um, using that 6 weeks, that was probably some of the best 6 weeks I spent in part of my life. So, because I learned a lot, and hopefully I get to share my project in a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So I know you talked a little bit about the teachers. Like it was a very supportive environment, So since it's so fresh in your mind, what's that been like? What was that like? It's sort of like, okay, you got 6 weeks. Like, was it you're on your own, or like I think the Bitwise way is a little different. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, yeah. The teachers were extremely helpful. They were really patient with me, especially when some of us in the class didn't really understand what was happening. Not because we weren't there or anything. It was just because some of this stuff can be a little heavy, especially when you're not used to the whole tech side of things, of coding. But they really made it understandable. Like it was really worth investing that little extra time to go that much further along with the assistance of our community. So the community was really helpful, really, really supportive.
Yeah, I know that when we talked, you're like, I can't believe the amount of support that Bitwise has given to me, that people allow you to grow and that you can ask questions. And so like we're really glad that like it worked for you, and that I think, have you signed up for the next class?
Yeah, I actually have that class tonight, so I'll be hopping into class after this whole thing. But I'm really excited for that. That was the mobile friendly course. That's the second course that you guys offer. So I'm really excited to learn as much as I can in the next 6 weeks, and I know I will because in 6 weeks you guys make it possible.
Ah, yes, we like to hear. Right? 6 weeks. So, and I know you've been working since, I think you told me like since you were 16, right? Like you've been a working man, like you're Japanese Mexican, which is like super cool too, like just
Yeah.
I love that at Bitwise, like we honor who you are as a person, and everything that like if you have heart and passion and you work hard, the sky's the limit. So it's super awesome. Do you want to share your website and like walk us through it, and like
Yeah.
what you've done in the last 6 weeks?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I'd love to. So this was my HTML CSS project for websites for a beginner. On the left here, we have the website. They pretty much taught me how to structure everything using HTML and how to dress it up using the CSS right on the right hand side of the screen. So we have the VS Code application here, and that allows you to build this what they call is this the skeletal structure using HTML. A lot of this code at first I didn't understand, and kind of structuring it. Once you learn the ABCs of it, I mean, you really can get going. So we have like the HTML page for the main. If you go to the contact page here, I mean that's all here underneath contact of the HTML page here, and you have the about. So you have all these cards, these shadows behind, and those shadows, the color of the text, the space in between the lines, the space in between the lettering itself. That's all really done on the CSS side. So that was really fun. Put it, kind of dressing it all up, making it a little extra fun, right? So that's pretty much what the VS Code that they taught us was the HTML and CSS. And here's my webpage. So pretty much you just have the home page. You have a floating nav bar that's sticky on the top here that kind of follows you on the way down the page. You have this moving image. This was probably the most difficult situation for me to deal with, to put the text on top of that as well, trying to make it look like a subtle menu. I was kind of going after the color scheme of like a Japanese samurai. So going after the maroon, gold, black approach, and then you have your maps here at the bottom and your social medias down here with the effects as you highlight. And yeah, other than that, you have the contact, so you can enter your information here, and you have the about. So everything here has the same footer on the bottom as well, and as the same nav bar on top. So that's pretty much my website that I worked on for about 6 weeks. But I mean, I'm really excited to work on some more.
Looks super dope. I like how the animation with like the beer and it's pouring, it's like it's not so static. And I love you were just sharing like you're all the skeleton and like the CSS and the HTML. Like, did you know any of that language before, like before coming to Bitwise?
No, I was actually a little afraid of not knowing what I was talking about, and I'm still, obviously learning. But what I've learned already was, how to kind of make it easier for myself and how to understand HTML and CSS. So the HTML is more of the skeletal structure, and the CSS is like you're kind of throwing on the skin and the clothes, dressing up that skeleton to make it look the way you want. So yeah, I think that these are just the stepping stones of my career in the tech, and I hope to take many more with Bitwise and you guys here.
That is awesome. I love that, at Bitwise, you learn all this technical jargon, right? Like the terms, and I think that, everyone is pretty like, oh, this is what this means. And like, there's no question that like, is a bad question, right? And the support, I just think, again, I'm just so impressed. I'm like, wow, in 6 weeks, like you coded, right? I mean, it's like, and you built a website with a contact bar, and like you said, with the spacers and the colors and all this stuff, and it's like that's like super 6 weeks. That's it seems like that would take you 5 years or something to
Yeah,
learn how to like this language, right? Which is also I think super cool at Bitwise. It's like progressively. It's like here's your baseline, and the next one you're going to take today, is like mobile friendly, right? Because we all know that it's all about this little gadget, right? I call it the cubicle in our pocket, right? Because
right.
it's a computer. It's not just a phone. Like we call it a phone, but it's really more than that. And the way that technology, is changing the world, and now you're part of that. Now you're like, I could do that, and so that's super exciting. What do you think your trajectory is? You're going to take this class, and I know you're still working at the produce place. You're still trying to figure out what to do with your cannabis farm and the nursery and the land, and that you're day trading. It's like a lot, and you
Yeah,
figured out how to make this happen too.
yeah, most definitely. I like to keep myself a little busy, but I definitely see myself growing in the tech sector, and I'm really excited to see where the tech industry goes, and I'd like to be a part of it and learn this skill. As I like to try to push myself with the time that we have in our lives, I try to push myself to learn as many skills as possible, but also grow passion at the same time because I think that's extremely important in order for you to grow in a certain time frame that you put your goal at. But yeah, I definitely I'd love to see a career change in the tech industry. But obviously, my heart can be divided up in different places as well. But I think tech is going to be one of the biggest portions of my heart. So I'm really excited to take it along with the community here in Bitwise.
That is awesome. And I think, that community in that sense of like you belong here, like we want to support you and you're part of that, right? Because now you're like onto like the second class and now you're sharing your story to show other people that you don't need experience, that we are a great place, so supportive. You're not just a number here, you're an actual human being, and we want to get to know
Right.
you and figure out like how to get rid of some of the barriers that that show up for us as like underestimated people, right? That people are like, oh, like I don't know if you really belong in tech, and it's like, yes, you do. We all do. So awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Miss Sao, for your time. And I know we're going to bring you back at the end for some Q&A from our people that are joining us to learn more about Bitwise Industries. So thank you again for your time and for sharing your experience with us all.
And thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Miss Sao. All right. Next up, and just so you guys know that you're joining us, we will have time for Q&A towards the end, the last 15 minutes of our time together in this 1 hour. So, there's next to the chat, a Q&A area where you can put your information, and we're going to have some fun polls also. So next up, we have John Torres in the house from Visalia joining us to share about his Bitwise experience and what that's been like. And again, I've had the opportunity to talk to all these incredible people and hear like, how did you find out about Bitwise and what were you doing before Bitwise? So, what were you doing before Bitwise, John?
Yeah. So leading up to it, so I started out I went to community college and I was studying economics. But at the time, I had undiagnosed ADHD. So that just gave me a lot of, como se dice, obstacles. And it was just very difficult to work with them. So I ended up dropping out of school. And I ended up just working in a cafe. And my goal at the time was to open up my own business eventually. And so to work towards that, I started wanting to work towards management in the cafe and wanting to grow there. But after 3 years, I just decided that it was a place that I had learned a lot from, but that it was time for me to move on. Um, so I kind of started looking for something else. But it was getting really difficult just because I didn't have a lot of background. I had just worked in the cafe. I dropped out of school, so I was kind of stressed for options. Um, and yeah, so I was very stressed for options. I didn't really know what I could do, what places would take me. And at the time, too, I know Bitwise had always been around for their classes and their apprenticeships and everything. Um, but for some reason, it always just felt out of reach. Like I didn't really feel like I was ready for that I was ready to take that big step, that I just didn't really feel like I was up for it, that I was ready for that big change in life to work in tech. I didn't really feel like I was good enough at that point. A little bit of imposter syndrome for sure.
Yeah,
But
I know we talked about that not good enough.
yes.
Like I'm not me. Like
Yeah.
that's not me. I'm not going to fit in, or I don't have the
Mhm.
education. And I think all of us suffer from that. And I know our conversation
Mhm.
previously was a lot about that, right? As
Yeah, for
sort
sure.
of the underdogs that we are. It's like
Mhm.
never quite fit in, and then you're trying to figure out who you are. Can I be this? Can I be that?
Yes.
I know one of the
Mhm.
funny stories for you was that, like you said, you knew about Bitwise because
Mhm.
Visalia, Fresno, and you're like, man, those really cool buildings, and you
Yeah.
tried going to have coffee, right? Like
Yeah.
going in, and we didn't
Mhm.
let you in, not on purpose, but So tell us about that.
Yeah, so one thing that I like to do is I like to just go to different places and just try different coffee shops. So in that one day, I think this was like, man, I'm old. So like it was like 3 years ago. It wasn't too long ago. But yeah, so I went to Fresno. I went to go just try different coffee shops, and one of the ones on the list was, at the time it was US Bean. Now it's, what is it, Contemplate? But I tried getting in and I tried all these doors, and I couldn't make my way in there. It was locked, which reasonably so, like you need a code to get in. But just another one of the reasons why I felt like Bitwise was just like it was out of reach. But I talked to my friend Emily after taking some interest in coding and taking some coding classes, and the ones that I had taken they didn't really provide the support that I needed, having ADD and like still barely learning how to work with my ADD. Um, and she told me about Bitwise and the classes that they offered, the apprenticeships and everything. And she said, she really encouraged me to try to pursue it. But I mean, at the time, I just still kept it in my back pocket. I said, oh, like, yeah, that sounds cool. Like, that sounds awesome. But I would still tell myself, like, no, like, I don't know if I'm ready. Again, that same imposter syndrome coming back. But looking back, that was all just me holding myself back. Um, I I just needed to take that first step and actually take those classes. But I would just tell myself, no, like, no, you're not really at that spot just yet. You still need to learn some more things. You need to know more or be more knowledgeable about that area before stepping into it. But once I kind of just brushed off all of my worries, all my anxieties about it, and just said, you know what, I'm just going to do it. Like, whatever doesn't work out, like if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But if it's meant for me, then it is, kind of thing. Like, whatever outcome it is, I'll take it.
We got to work past, the fear, right? That
Definitely.
imposter syndrome, the fear
Yes.
of what are people going to think. And,
Mm-hmm.
and I know you and I talked about, like, you took the hard route, right? You're, like Bitwise, you don't need any prior experience,
Mm-hmm.
right? You don't need to
Yeah.
know anything about coding. You don't need to know the language. You don't even know
Mm-hmm.
you don't even have to know what HTML means,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Uh,
No, I didn't
and
know any of
and
that going into it. Sorry,
right,
go
but you're like, I'm going to take some coding classes somewhere
ahead.
else,
Mm-hmm.
to, that way you'll know, right? So that you're,
Mm-hmm.
again, that you're like, I'm not going to come in like this person that doesn't know. And but like you said, like what was your experience with those classes like?
It was awesome. The support that was given the whole time was super, super awesome. The study groups that were held twice a week were super helpful. Um, my instructor was amazing. I need to stop using awesome. I've been using awesome a lot, but it's for
That's
lack of
awesome.
better words, that's just how amazing it is. My instructor was super supportive, really kind. If you went to her for any trouble and you needed to stay after class, and she would help you through like whatever problem you were going through in HTML or whatever code you were learning. Um, but even like going past that, in my class, I ended up being super cool with some of my peers. And if there was something that I was kind of like one little specific thing that I needed help on, I would just text them, be like, hey, can I get some help with this? And if it wasn't like a day that study group was a thing or whatever, I would text them and they'd be like, yeah, sure, this is what you do. Or they'd help me out a little bit. And just the support in every aspect of those classes was just unmatched. Didn't even compare to any of the other classes that I had taken. Um, yeah, Bitwise definitely helped me a lot. And especially with something as it helped HTML and CSS feel a lot more understandable for me, because I would take those classes and it just felt like a whole new world, a completely like different language. Like just, I don't know, just I couldn't even know how to wrap my head around it. But just the Bitwise classes did a really good job of making everything feel understandable, approachable. So that was
I
super
want to
awesome.
sing a whole new world now because you put that in
Oh
there. A
yeah.
whole new world, right?
Well, I can
Uh,
bust out my karaoke skills.
right.
It's not
That's right.
good, but I can do it. Mhm.
I know one of the things that you and I talked about was the human connection, right, at
Mhm.
Bitwise, and that you were
Yes.
kind of at first like, can people really be this nice? Can they really, like, what's the catch?
Yeah.
Because that you came from a toxic work environment, and
Mhm.
a lot of places it's sort of like, let's see if you got what it takes, right? Like, you
Mhm.
got to stand out from the crowd, and Bitwise is a little different about that, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're not a number, you're a human being, and we want to support you, remove any
Mhm.
barriers that you might have. So talk to me about that. How did, like, you came in and you're like, can they be this nice? Like, what was that like?
Mhm. Yeah. So yeah, the prior work environment was toxic and emotionally manipulative, to say the least, a little bit. But I worked there for 3 years, so that kind of mentality was definitely ingrained in my mind to some extent. So coming into it, everyone being so nice and so supportive, I couldn't help but think, like, what's the catch? Like, there's something here. What is it? A little bit of distrust, definitely leaching over from my past work experience, but it definitely did take me some time. Like, I remember telling my student success specialist, which also that's another awesome thing that Bitwise offers, student success specialists that are matched to you per class and stuff. But I
Wait,
taught
let's
them.
talk, let's talk about
Sorry.
those. Like, what is
Mhm,
a student success specialist? I know that like a lot of people are like, oh, I'm taking a class, I got an instructor.
mhm,
But at Bitwise, yeah, like we try to get we match someone to you to be
mhm,
like, hey, let's check in. How's it going?
mhm.
Like, talk to us about that.
Yeah. So student success specialist. Sorry, a lot of syllables. But yeah, so they're essentially just there for if you're if you need extra help or extra guidance, you're there to make sure that you're getting the support that you need, but that also that you're learning, that you're being given all the tools to succeed. Because that's one thing that I have noticed about Bitwise is that they want you to succeed. They're not going to set you up for failure. They're doing their best to make sure that you follow through with your goals that you set out. To make sure that you have all the tools in your belt that you need. Like the study group, for example. Even in my past experiences when I was a TA in one of the coding classes, there have been instances where if a student needs extra help, they will be paired with a one-on-one tutor. Like there are those resources and extra help that are there for you if you're having a rough time. So I think that's super awesome. That there's that community that is willing to help you. Like that's one thing that I've noticed in my apprenticeship thus far is that everyone is there to help you succeed. No one is there to compete with you. No one is there trying to get the upper hand. Everyone wants to see you succeed. And I
That
think
is
that's one of the things that's awesome about Bitwise for sure.
for sure. That I think all double down on your awesomeness. That's super awesome, right? That we have that, yeah. That
Hmm.
or as we were talking about before we came on video. It's like that's clutch because you
Yeah.
want to bring that back too, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, that's what we do at Bitwise. We keep it real. So yeah, so now you're in the paid apprentice. You're like a design apprentice.
Yes.
And so I know you do like you're doing graphics,
Mhm.
animations. So you took the 4 classes, and then how did you become an apprentice? Like what was that process like?
So it was definitely different than every other interview process that I went through because it wasn't an interview process. It was like, which I think is interesting and different in a very good way, in a very positive light. Because I went in there and I was telling them, yeah, so I studied economics. This is what I've done for work, and that stopped me like, no, no, no. What do you like to do? What do you like? And then I would just segue back into, yeah, well, this is what I've like, this is what I've accomplished, this is what I'm like in workplace. And they'd have to hone me back in right again. Because they want to get to know you as a person. What are you like? Are you a great fit? Or are you just a good human? That's all that they care about, and I think that's definitely helped in fostering a great work environment and a company culture, which has been a great experience. Like I've learned so much being in graphics, learning very difficult programs like learning Adobe Creative Suite, a lot programs like Photoshop, Illustrator, um, Blender, which is a 3D modeling and animation program, After Effects would have been so difficult for myself if it wasn't for the great company culture um, that was created and fostered to where everyone is there to help you. If you're struggling with something, just send out a message, hey, can I get eyes or can I get help with this? And they're there for you. They'll be like, yeah, like just let's hop into a meet room and I'll help you out with whatever. So that's definitely helped out a lot because all these programs and just learning how to do everything would be damn near impossible if I didn't have the help that I do here at Bitwise in the apprenticeship.
And that happened all in, you've been with us 9 months, right? It's
Yes.
not even been a year, right? And like you're talking about like 3D animation, and I know
Yep.
you're doing Instagram stickers, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
what? How is
Yeah.
that even possible, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that is like crazy. And like, just think that you were a barista,
Yeah.
uh and now you get to also enjoy like when you come into our buildings, like some great coffee, because
Oh,
we
heck
got
yeah.
great coffee, and now you have access, right, to
Mm-hmm.
the building, which is super
I
cool.
can actually go into the building this time.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's paid. Like, it's another cool thing, right? Is that you're a paid apprentice,
Yeah.
and that you are like I know you've talked about you're part of the team. You're not doing grunt work. Like, you're an
Mm-hmm.
asset, right? It's
Yeah.
like, hey, we want you here. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like, we want you to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not you're not just running, you know, HTML code anymore, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's like, hey, let's elevate and like let's figure out what you want. So I think that's
Mm-hmm.
so cool, and thank you so much for again giving your time up. Even though you're a paid intern, you're not getting paid today for your time,
Mm-hmm.
but we're glad that you're part of our team, and that you're such a great story, and that it's I hopefully people that are joining us right now can hear some part of where they're at, and
Mm-hmm.
that they'll take that uh that faith or faith leap, right? To be like, I'm gonna try it. Like, what's the worst
Yeah.
that could happen?
Mm-hmm.
It's not for me, but I tried it, and that's all we can do. So
Mm-hmm.
thanks, John, and
Thank
we'll
you.
wrap up with you for now, and then bring you back to the Q&As.
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right,
See you.
awesome. All right, and now we have Liz from born and raised in, was it Lemoore? Is that right? Yeah, so she's gone through the whole process from student to paid intern, to now she's one of our developers. And her story is a little different because her and I are both CSU sisters, graduated from the CSU system. She has a degree in computer science, I think, which I do not. But so you graduated from Fresno State and with this degree, and how easy was it to get a job?
It was definitely hard because the thing is, what I didn't expect is that it will take a long. Because what I heard is that anything that's non-tech, it would take you like 3 months, but anything tech related takes you 6 months. And it was when I had graduated around like 2020, and yeah, at the 6 months it was like spent doing all the interviews and then signing up for different job offers, and then I kept getting like a bunch of rejections saying that I don't meet the criteria. And this was like very like this worry for me because it's just like, oh no, it's just like what am I supposed to do? Is like I can't keep wasting time. And then yeah, it doesn't help that spinocerebellar syndrome had carried me throughout the whole, yeah, it carried me throughout the whole life. It was just terrible. It didn't really do good to my self-esteem. So yeah,
And I
that.
know you're the first, right? You're the first in your family to go to college,
Yeah,
to go
the
to university,
eldest.
right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the eldest, and like that first gen, right? And it's like, and then our parents have this like, well, you have this degree now, like you should have a job right away, right? And the truth is, like, it doesn't work like that, and so, like, you and I talked about that, about how tough it is, and how family is like really important to us, in our cultures. And so it's like, you're like, it couldn't go far away, and I really wanted to use my degree, but it wasn't happening. So, like, how did you find out about Bitwise?
Definitely, if you don't know who Emily from Bitwise Ventures, she's the designer. So basically, we were both in the same internship together during my last year of college. We were part of the same internship called Project Ignite, which we were both picked from this hackathon, the Fresno hackathon they had during Fresno State. So when we were doing her internship, she brought up, because I was curious at that time, and then yeah, about Bitwise, she was telling me about how she was part of the designer cohort and how all the experiences, all the yeah, all the bonds she had created throughout there. And it's like how great the community was. It's like this is definitely like, yeah, I put it kind of like onto the side. It's like if everything fails, this will be the backup, kind of like one of the backup plans. So yeah, So that's how I figured out about the Bitwise thing. So like I said, I had like 6 months was the grueling moments that I couldn't find a job. So I didn't want to kill more time and I want to be productive. So I had started taking those classes at Bitwise. So just to like make sure I was learning something, but at the same time, it's like not killing time because it's like my parents were probably already like at that time. It's like this is when you're gonna get that job. It's like luckily they were patient with me at that time, and then yeah, I went through the whole Bitwise classes. The I had taken the 3 classes already, so definitely, yeah. Like after the 3 classes, yeah, offered with the apprenticeship offer, and then it's like, heck yeah, sign me up because it's like it's better than nothing at the least because at least I can get to stay close to my family because I prioritize family above all the other things. I just didn't want to have to leave my parents behind because I had to look for another tech job and then like you know how the housing market's like it's impossible to buy another house for me and my mom. It's like okay, I can't do that either, move into another city. So I'm glad that Bitwise offered me the opportunity that I can still maintain the space between in the Central Valley and all that stuff. Yeah, so
I
definitely
love that. And
sorry.
yeah, so no, you're good. And like, I think that that is really cool, right? That like you're from the Central Valley and like now it's like you're part of like our tech industry and the economies that we're trying to build that we have built in Fresno and are building in, other parts of the valley, Merced and Bakersfield and the Bay Area and Oakland and just how we're expanding. So I know you and I talked about like the culture, right? So one of the things that all of your stories have in common is the support that you found, the community of support that you found at Bitwise compared to going to college and sort of like the that dog eat dog world. I think that's how you say it, of like compete and like like stand out. And at Bitwise, it's like you're a person, and how can we support you? So like, what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, this is like considering the past during my terrible college experience. The problem that I saw when I first entered the tech community, because like when I first started my bachelor's, I just noticed that it was very inclusive and it was very much like gatekeeping a lot of people out of the tech community, which I hated that thing. It also felt like that I had like a bunch of professors and like most of them were not really open or friendly, all that stuff. It just really made my experience at college really bad. And it's like, if I were to become like a developer, I would not become like them. So yeah, it should not be a gatekeeper because tech. That's the thing. It's like you can't really thrive in an environment where everyone's like putting you down and all that stuff. That's how I felt because like you would expect the professors or like to help you and like thrive, but no, it was like yeah, very selfish, very cutthroat. Yeah, I just didn't want to. And then, yeah, that also was added on to the imposter syndrome and all that stuff. So, yeah, I'm just glad that Bitwise was there to give me an opportunity because that's the thing. The tech community, what I mostly see, in my first tech community when I first joined, it's very, yeah, they lock everything out. Like, they will not let you in, but Bitwise, they're very open. They're willing to help you through the process and being open. Yeah, that's man. Yeah, and
Yeah,
they gave me all the support that I gave versus the professors. Yeah, during my time in college.
yeah, and I know that, all of you talk about that. It's like the community, the support, and just how you matter here, right? We want you to succeed. We're trying to break those barriers. We're not gatekeepers, right? We're trying to change the face of what access to, careers in tech and who's doing the work looks like, which is I think like super awesome, being from the Central Valley too, that I'm like, yes, like we need to do this more and more, and so I know you became a developer because you love video games, right? And anime and manga and all that stuff. And so like how from, learning HTML to like being in a paid internship and now you're one of our awesome developers. Like what's that journey been like?
And that it's been interesting because ever since I got this position as software developer here, it's just like I felt like I made something for myself. Like my parents had, like I said, I come from a family of like immigrants. Like I'm the first child it's like that expectation, like you want to build something big for yourself. So it's like a legacy to your parents. And I think I did follow to that legacy well. Man, it's like it's it's kind of funny because it's like a whole year has just like a year and a half has passed by for me, and yeah, here I am right now. But definitely, if you guys need a sign that you want to try out for the classes, this is your sign right now. Yeah. So when I became a software developer, it was pretty much the transition had been easy for me because I already knew a lot of these people, and then they already knew who I was. It's like, okay, this won't be really be awful. I've been working on the same project when I was doing as an apprentice, so my project I already know who I was, and then who already knows my work ethic and all that stuff. So definitely, yeah, the our Harley and Eric, who are part of the whole TATSTAT team, that's welcomed me with open hands when I became their software developer, and I thank them for welcoming in, even though I didn't have much to start with. So yeah, it's
Oh,
been yeah.
I love that. I love that. Do you want to share like the app that you worked on? I think it's
Oh
super cool and
yes,
like yeah, like share that.
yeah, definitely. I'll share that right now. Okay, I need to get this. Okay, is it shared right now? Okay, yes.
Hmm.
Okay, so this is the app right here. So I have two different iPhones on, one in perspective of the artist and one in perspective of client. If you don't know what TATSAT is, it's basically an app where artists and clients can like set up like schedules and appointments and set up like payments between them and like keep communications to each other. So basically it's all that all input in one app. So we see right here, this is in terms of like the artist's point of view. So see right here, you can see like what are the open times. Right as of right now, I don't have much. Yeah, like example, it would like tell you what appointments you have from here, what deposits you have open request, and like able to set and change your location and set up your payments there. And yeah, you have all these individual items or like your clients, each of them. I just have one client on this one right now, so you'd see why it's all the same name. And this one on the right side is in perspective of the client itself. So this one here, you can just easily find an artist based on where city you want to set your appointment at, and then you just look through here, and they will give you a list of all the artists that's available in that area, and then you can like set a request with them, and then tell them what sort of tattoo you want, and then yeah, it's like a whole intake information you got to write down for them to like to understand what sort of tattoo you want. Then, oops, okay, so yeah, after
This
you
is so
tell.
cool because I have some tattoos, and the way that I got my last one is that like I sent like a DM to an artist, and then we were like going back and forth, and it's like, what do you want, blah blah blah, and like I love how this app makes it like it's like, here's what I want, here's the thing, and it's like kind of like good for me as a client, but then also for the artist, right, to be like, oh, okay, I have a sense of like what you're wanting and that kind of stuff. So that's super cool. Keep
So,
going.
so yeah, you can already see that I got a new at 6:45 around when I got that information from my potential client. So yeah, if you guys are curious, this TatStat app is on. It's on the App Store right now. If you guys want to see what it looks like, this is kind of like in our or in my local stuff right now. This is what I'm making local right now. We're kind of like in the process of like. I think we already just deployed today, but I think so. Yeah, the new version of TatStat should be released today. So this is the whole setup basically. It's to me to keep all the stuff, keep it simple between the artist and the client, do all the stuff in one app so you don't have to like have to go back and forth, back and forth. It's all in one thing and you can just keep track of all the artists and clients you want in here.
How dope is that you're like, the app I've been working on, you can find it on the App Store. That feels like you're famous, right? That you're like, yeah, I worked on that, like me. I think that's so cool. How do your parents feel about like, that you're working at Bitwise? Were they like pretty? I'm sure you were like, I got an apprenticeship, but I know sometimes our parents being like first gen and they're kind of like, what are you doing? I don't really get what you do, So like, how's that been for them? Are
It's
they
kind
proud
of
of you? Are they excited? Or they're kind of like, great, you have a job finally?
they were really proud of me. But the only thing is, like, I had to explain what the heck I was doing because they're not tech savvy. So I had to explain my details about what I do. I just basically told them I just make a bunch of apps for a living, just to keep it one short line. And it's like, okay, it's like we're proud of you, Elizabeth. It's like it made me happy that I got a job that like I said, I thrived and then actually got to where I am right now better when I was in college where I wasn't thriving. But definitely made me a better person than I was before. That's the thing. Bitwise always are out for you. Not that sounds wrong when I say that. No, it's definitely
We're
so
not out for
it's
you. We're
always
out with
supporting you
you.
on
Yeah.
it's always supporting you on every step. Yeah, that's the best part to say. So yeah, that's that's why I really like the Bitwise. I feel like if I were to go any other workplace or anything, it's like I would feel like awkward because it's like I'm used to like this very healthy environment here. It's like I wouldn't want to go any other way. I would like to stay with Bitwise as long as I can and become like maybe eventually their senior developer stuff because yeah, it's like my journey doesn't still end here and Bitwise still like supporting me on my way here. And my long term goals is to become a senior dev or at least to become like a project dev eventually. So yeah, that's where I
It'll
am right
happen.
now.
You know how Bitwise is. It's like if you have that passion and you're a good human being, like we'll find a way. And I think that's all the stories today, right, are about like the community, like the people behind Bitwise, like our ethos. You know how we treat people. We want you to be successful and be a good human. The way that we do that is by being kind, supportive, patient. It's like I think it's like I've heard patience and grace is our way, right? It's like that. None of us know all the answers, but together and collectively, we're changing the face of technology, like one person at a time. And you're just a shining example of someone that's like, okay, yeah, I took some classes. I got did the paid internship, which is very exciting, right? To get paid to learn, and now you're like part of our team, right? Which is like we call each other pals, right? We're pals in this Bitwise ecosystem together. So it's an honor to be your colleague, your pal, and like now that I know someone, a software developer, I could be like, hey, I need an app, kind of thing. I'll reach out to you. But so awesome! Thank you so much, Liz, for that, for your time today, and sharing your story of and your excitement. Because I think it's real. Like this isn't I know that John's like, oh, what's the catch? And like the catch is like we just want to love on you and have you be successful. So it's very, very exciting. Thank you so much. All right, guys. So it is almost time for Q&A. If you want to start putting those questions in the Q&A, I guess, section or tab. But first, we're going to actually do some polls, which are always some fun things, that tells us like who's here and like what some of the barriers are. And our first poll is going to be coming up. You'll probably see it any minute now. There it is. Why are you interested in taking a Bitwise course? And if you're taking one already and you're joining us, because I know there's a lot of people here from maybe like John's class or Liz's old class and all that. So let's see. Career change. That is seems to be something that keeps showing up. People want to maybe try something different. And definitely one of the best things about Bitwise is our statistics, right? You come in maybe with a certain income level. I think it's like 21,000 to 25,000, and after some time with us, you can get a job making anywhere between 60 and 80. So that's always good. And of course, we love people that are passionate for tech and not sure. That's also great because like we're the place. We want you to make sure that this is a place for you. And if it isn't, please, again, reach out to us. Let us know what we can do to support you. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Like we're here to answer them and just, have you take a chance on us, and hopefully you'll drink the Bitwise Kool-Aid as most of us have to show like the love, that and support for getting you into tech. All right. Our next poll is we're all about breaking barriers, right? And what are the obstacles, the biggest things that are preventing you from taking a course? Our prices, I think, is pretty awesome. Class is $250, and if you cannot afford that, we have financial assistance available, so you can talk to us about that. Yeah, go ahead and vote. Equipment, laptops. I hear that we also have access to those. So anything that you can throw at us, we will do our very best to break down those barriers to get you through the door, to learn some tech. Time commitment, it is in the evening. We do have classes that are East Coast time, I believe, and I think Central time. So if it doesn't work for you for like an evening class, we'll do that. Hopefully when we open back up, and we'll have classes maybe during the day. But again, any barrier, you don't have access to Wi-Fi, our people will try their very best to try to like break all those up. So yeah. And our last poll is a fun one, because we know it's dinner time and you're all getting restless, but hand on your heart, be honest. Are any of you wearing pajamas right now? And I am not wearing pajamas, but it's no, yes. Oh yes, we have some yes people. That is awesome. Business on top, PJs on the bottom. Done that before, especially during the pandemic. Who knew? And then I literally took them off a minute ago. Great thing about Bitwise, we love you no matter what you're wearing. If you're wearing pajamas or jeans, or we just want you to be authentically you, show up, and and ask for support. We're here to make that happen. So thanks guys for playing along on our little polls. We're coming up towards the end. The last 10 minutes is time for Q&A. And we're going to bring back our panelists today to answer some questions that some of you have put in the chat. Here we go. All right. Welcome back, guys. We're all together now. All right. Let's see what we have as far as questions. Let's see. Can you please give an overview of the workforce training apprentice process for people who are just learning about Bitwise? All right. So who wants to take that on? John, it seems like you're kind of the person that's doing the paid internship right now. Do you want to answer that?
Yes, it was the sorry, I was reading the questions on the side. Which one was it?
Give us an overview of the workforce training / apprentice process for people that are new. So I think you take 4 classes, or is it 4 classes before like you get nominated to be an apprentice, a paid apprentice?
So it can happen at any stage.
Oh.
So I got offered the apprenticeship right after my first web tech for beginners class. And then that's when I continued, decided to continue. But yeah, so you just have to take at least one, but sometimes like whatever apprenticeship might be a good fit for you isn't really open at that moment. So that's when they probably push you off until, well, not push you off, but kind of wait to open up an apprenticeship option to you until one that is a good fit for you opens up. That's just like the beginning process, and then the interview, they just want to get to know you as a person. So they just want to make sure that you're a good fit. And if you're a good fit for the environment, then they'll bring you into the Bitwise family.
How about you, Liz? What was your experience like from going from student, where Masao is now, to the paid apprentice route?
So so the way I noticed they were picking out their apprentices is like, not only because you don't really need the high technical knowledge, as long as you're like really active in the community, willing to help out others, and you work hard, definitely. Yeah, they'll definitely choose, because I was chosen after like 3 classes in. That's because they didn't have that apprenticeship like set up back then at that time. Because then that was that time they did actually had it set up, and then it's like, hey Liz, you want to give this a go? It's like, heck yeah, because So yeah, like that aspect of being part of the community and like being part of the whole culture is like how the Bitwise rolls basically. As long as like you're willing to work for it, you're willing to help out, you're very active. It's like heck yeah, you don't really need the high tech knowledge. So yeah, so after when I got chosen, basically they set you up with like your basically your team lead or something. So every group is gonna get set up with a team lead, and then you're gonna have like your teammates, or which are going to be eventually maybe your future co-workers on that stuff. So how they had started us off is like for our apprenticeship is that they placed me into the React cohort basically, so which was the language itself in the framework. So first 6 months is that they definitely help you set up learn how the framework works, how the languages work, and definitely how the best practices for coding. And after like 6 months, they set you up with like a project. They all assign you out projects. In that case, my group had to split into two because we got split into WordPress and React Native. So definitely for the coding cohort when I was in, that's how they do it for the coding cohorts. If you do plan going on the developer route, and then
So you're saying for Masao, show up, like stand out, get involved, like use that Slack, like have your name be question. We have questions of the day on our Slack channels, and like they're um the community and like how we get to know each other is like through Slack, right? Communicating, and it's so much fun. So thanks, Liz, for that, because again, I think everyone's journey is a little different, and as we continue to grow Bitwise Industries and figure out like take over the world little by little, like Pinky in the Brain. Definitely showing my age right now. But that the route for apprenticeship, for paid apprenticeship, is there. So that's awesome. All right, we'll probably have time for one more question because we're coming up on the end of our time together. Let's see. Narf, I love it. Rachel, I'm loving your chats. I'm loving all the chat on the side. I see that. All right. How many hours per week do you feel you need to devote to time outside the classroom in order to really learn the training? All right. I'm going to say, since I haven't done the training, 0, right? Just get into the class. But what do you guys got?
I think it depends on how much you're really exposed to this type of language of tech and coding. But for me, I can speak as a student, but I definitely wanted to invest more time when I got off of work, or even after class, maybe about an hour, or even if you could afford 30 minutes, something is better than nothing. And digging around YouTube, using Slack and the community that's available to you and your teachers that are also very helpful, is extremely good idea. So I definitely, especially if you can grow a passion behind it, it's a smart move.
Yeah, I meant, and now that I've read the question again, I sort of meant like, oh, you don't need to do like what John did and take coding classes before you join us, but this is like as you're in the program, the hours. So, how about Liz and John? You got 10 seconds.
Okay, so,
I know.
so there's if you're taking the classes, there are like study groups that you can attend. It helps you bond with the people and also gets you out to you yourself in the know. The more people that see you in these study groups, like you don't have to like dedicate like a whole like 4 hour or 2 hours. Like dedicate at least like if you jump in and out, it's like okay, and they see you're actually working and that you're helping others, and it's like okay, yeah, they at least they see a face to a name at least.
All right, John, what do you got for us?
Honestly, I have to agree with what Liz said. Um, and yeah, study groups help a bunch. I personally depended a lot on the study groups, just because some things were I would I would look at code, but it would come back broken or something would go wrong. After so much time looking at code, everything started just looking the same for me. So I would definitely need that extra person to kind of a fresh pair of eyes on my code, I guess, to be able to really hone in on exactly what was going wrong. Study groups helped out a lot.
Well, thank you guys so much. I want to honor your time, and I know that Masao has a class and to get to. So thanks again for spending, your evening and the time today with us to share the behind the scenes, like what Bitwise is all about. It's not a sham. It really is like good people, good human beings, just trying to elevate one another and, get people into the tech space, into tech careers. So if you have the heart and the passion, we urge you to consider taking a class, or ask us some questions if you're still on that fence about maybe it's not for me, or I don't even know how to work a computer. Talk to us. We are definitely the place where you belong, and and hopefully you'll take a chance on us, as we'd love for you to consider self-evaluate. I think that's the thing. It's like we hope that we'll be the place for you. So thanks again to all of you for your time, and also to the people behind in the green room, helping us out with today's technical stuff and keeping us on time. So until next month, and I look forward to staying connected with all of you through Slack and see where your journey takes you. So thanks again, guys.
Thank you, guys. Have a
See
great
you
day.
guys.